What is going on, everybody? We are gonna probably just be messing around with some giants. So that should be fun. And I got this guy here. Not super happy with his horns. We might do a little bit on him, but probably gonna knock out some base coats or something on this guy. Maybe a little on this guy, maybe a little on that Minotaur. And basically I just haven't painted on stream in a little while, so we're gonna do that tonight and hopefully some people enjoy. I'll show you the painted ones here in a second. I got this guy as well. I've just been occasionally when I'm making like a brown wash or something for something, I've just been basically slapping it around on different models, trying not to waste it because I made too much. So hopefully y'all can hear me okay and that we are fully live and having a good time. Let me know if you are watching. Give me a thumbs up and let me know in the chat that you can hear me okay. So let me grab a bunch of paint brushes. See, actually I'll probably actually mess around with this one. This is a size 6 ghost brush. If you're watching this, the ghost brushes, including the dry brushes, are now available on eBay. So follow the links below. Go check out some paint brushes. They're getting an amazing response. Everybody's loving them. So I think you'll like them as well if you want to give them a shot. Let's move these guys to the side. So let me just I'm going to put some Grif Charger Gray on some of the fur parts on this guy. And that's just kind of what I've been doing on the fur of the Frost Giants. On these Fire Giants from Reaper, I'm probably going to do a slightly different color scheme, I guess, to kind of differentiate them a bit from the Frost Giant squads. But let me put this Grif Charger Gray on and then give it a chance to dry for a little bit while I show you the fully painted ones. So hopefully we can get this done. I could probably use this model's pretty big. I could probably go with a bigger brush than this, especially for like these parts down here at his feet. But we'll make it work. We'll just have to keep reapplying. This model here, I don't think I quite brought him up bright enough for these contrast paints and wash strategy. You can see there's still a lot of gray, which means essentially the contrast paint's ability to somewhat, quote unquote, highlight will be diminished because that highlight is usually coming over when it's just leaving a thin amount of paint over the white. And since I don't really have a lot of white showing, it's all kind of muted with some gray. It's going to make it not as effective, but we're still going to use it to just block in colors here. And we can pick out the highlights with some dry brushing. And like I said, the dry brushes are available on eBay, so why don't you pick some up and you can dry brush at home. Or if you get like an old brush, like say your size 6 ghost brush is on its last legs, go ahead and, chop it up, turn it into a little dry brush. Works great. It's a good way to get a little bit more life out of some of your older paint brushes if they're not... Oh, I put way too much paint. Don't ever do that. See, I dunked it all the way in and they got the whole thing covered in paint. That's probably why this one's not going to last that long, because I'm getting way too much paint in the ferrule. Just gonna apply this on the model to not waste the paint, but if you ever do that, make sure you just go ahead and rinse it off completely. So just give it a good swish, rinse it off, and move on. So that way you don't totally destroy brush. That's quite a bit more accurate to how you should be painting. You should be using a brush and then getting the paint about halfway A lot of people, I think, are afraid of the larger size brushes, but you end up using the larger sizes quite a bit, especially in the early stages. And then later on, if you're picking out small details or you want to do little spot highlights and hatch marks and things like that, you can go down to the smaller sizes. But the more you use the big ones, think of it this way, it saves the points and tips and everything on your smaller brushes. So not a terrible idea to get used to maybe using a slightly larger brush than you would. That being said, I have an awesome new paintbrush set coming in 2021, which is going to be all the little brushes you ever need for painting. So, painting miniatures, that is. So if you're interested, make sure you follow the links below to the Kickstarter pages and follow me over on Kickstarter. And that should be up, I'm thinking maybe February 1st. I don't know, I got a few details to work out. The second part of my campaign doesn't look like it's going to be ready. I believe there's like an aluminum shortage in China, or maybe because of the aluminum can shortage, all the Chinese aluminum is being sold to like the big beverage companies like Budweiser and Coke and Pepsi. I don't know. Whatever it is, it's hard to get paintbrushes made right now. At least new prototype samples. So they haven't really given me a reason, but apparently they can't do it. So that particular project is going to be delayed a little bit, but I still got some really exciting little brushes on the way. And I think everybody's going to like them a lot. They're going to be a big hit, maybe the biggest Kickstarter I've done yet, because everybody loves teeny tiny brushes. And this is because a lot of people were asking about like a 000. And I said I was going to do a 000, and then it seemed like the 00 was small enough. So for the 000, I decided to switch it up. We'll get some different shapes, different, all small brushes, and they'll be perfect for anything you ever wanted to use a 000 on. Now, let's let him dry for just a second. We'll probably jump over to the metals here, but let me show you the painted giants. First up, they're not finished being based yet. First up, we got the monkeys. So these, basically this is the unit right here. So this will be a unit of 3 ale guzzler giants. You've got 2 frost apes and this frost giant leading them. So that is 1 unit of ale guzzlers. And if you're familiar with the Sons of Behemoth army, you can run these giants in units of 3. So that's why I'll have 9 giants, little giants. But I don't know how often I would run 1 big giant and 9 littles, but you know, if we play like 2,500 points or something. And then here are the Bash brothers. These are 2 frost giants, little guys. More or less they're done. I'm pretty happy with them. This guy's gloves and handle there could maybe use a little highlight or something, but I think they're pretty good. They're not even... oh, it looks like I somehow missed a little tiny spot on his hand. Oh well, we'll get that. They haven't been actually varnished yet either, so they have weird finishes, gloss washes and stuff, being really reflective, but we'll fix that eventually. But I was trying to figure out if I should varnish them before or after I do all the snow effects. So, and this is their king. So this is their unit here, which would be the 3 frost giants. You got the kind of king one, and then you got the bodyguard and the warrior kind of one here. So that's basically gonna, once these giants that I'm working on, these 2 are done, I mean, that puts me up at 6 little giants. So then we'll switch over to the big ones. I think, because once I have two big ones painted, I can play a game. Now, when I say play a game, of course I mean I will not be able to play a game because COVID, so whatever. But in the future I'll be able to play a game. And I got some pretty cool Beltan Guardians I've been working on in this kind of green-yellow metallic. It's not really super easy to see metallics and stuff on camera, but you can kind of see the shift of yellow to kind of darker below. Pretty cool. I got actually 40 of them over there, so I haven't been too crazy about batch painting. 40 Eldar Guardians. I'm just going to go with the jet exhaust here, because that's the metal I used for the other Frost Giants. And I have like 2 bottles of this, so I wouldn't mind finishing one and being able to throw it away. And like I said, right now we're just roughly base coating things. Not trying to do anything except really block in all my colors. So as far as like a technique type video or stream, this one may not be the best, but if we get some people in chat hanging out, it could be fun. Get some models painted, have a good time. This style of painting is kind of, I think, really helps, I guess, get a lot of value out of things like contrast paint and washes, where you using them to quickly block in colors, and then you're going to refine it with highlights, maybe some extra washes to reinforce dark shadow areas. And hopefully you like the gorilla and the other little giants I painted. I mean, they're very quick to do, actually, in this method. And they don't even look bad once they're just blocked in. So if you really had to get them done, if you wanted to play with a fully painted army, this would be a good way to do it. And then come back and refine some details and really make them pop. It's an idea I've thrown out a few times to viewers, but say you have your army, go ahead and just basically block in all the colors on your army, speed paint the whole army, and then when you play, or say you got an event coming up or a tournament, make your tournament list and then take a little extra time that month before the tournament and just put some of those highlights on your army, or put some of those, paint some of those gemstones on some of the units, some of the little extra stuff that maybe you left off in the beginning. And it's just a nice way to keep gradually increasing the quality of your miniatures without maybe feeling like you've been necessarily like slaving over them and getting nothing done because you're spending so much time per miniature. Instead, you're basically enjoying a fully painted army, and you're just spending time just trying to, increase their, I guess, wow factor on the table. So maybe you can win Best Painted at your event. And then once you win Best Painted at your event, you win a little bit of store credit. All of a sudden, that's turning into free models. Now you're selling painted models on eBay. Now you're 36 and retired and living in the Bahamas. See, it's a gateway. So go back and put a little extra on some of your models before an event. It's not a terrible idea. Now that being said, I think it's a really good idea, but I've been lately trapped in trying to honestly put a little bit, maybe too much time into some basic models, especially the ones that I'm planning on keeping. I've sold a lot of painted models on eBay, And because of that, I always know that, I want to paint my models to a certain standard. So if I ever have to list them on eBay, I can get a good price for them. But then that means models that I'm probably never going to sell because, they're mine. I'm putting a lot of time into them, and sometimes it just feels like you're not making any progress on your army painting. I.e., that's why I got 40 Guardians to my left that are basically airbrushed green, and I painted their guns silver. So I have not been getting that army completed, but it's a start. So hopefully you can do better than me and follow my advice. And if you have an event or something coming up, don't be afraid to just put that third level of little subtle highlight on the armor or whatever. Those kind of things a lot of people aren't going to notice, but maybe a judge for like a best painted award, hopefully they'll notice, and hopefully you win. One thing I've been doing a lot lately is just straight up blocking in all the metallics or all the metals on the model, just the same jet exhaust from Vallejo. And it's really fast on these giants. This is a Wizkids, but Reaper Bones and Wizkids, their details are really big and chunky on these bigger giant models. So it's really fast to do it this way. You just block in all the metals with the same color, and then I can alter these colors with washes and stuff later. So this way I can just knock out the metals fairly quickly, and then later, if I want to turn one gold or bronze or copper, I can dry brush it with a color like that. I could highlight it with a color like that. I could hit it with like maybe some yellow contrast paint just to add like a different finish to it, and all of a sudden it's a different metal than the one I started with. So just kind of like base coating with a kind of good neutral. Maybe this one's kind of more on the dark neutral side, but a basically middle of the road silver, not too bright. It's another little tip for maybe a little speed painting for you. What do you think? Do you think his knee pads are metal? I don't know if they are, but I'm going to go for it. They are now. My thought would be you probably don't want a lot of metal armor if you're in the snow. I think it would be very, very cold. Or I guess maybe you just put a bunch of wool and stuff under it. I don't know. So maybe you don't feel how cold it is. But he's a frost giant, so he's a magical creature. So maybe he is not affected by the cold. Maybe he was born in the cold. And then another example of just a way to be a little efficient, and this will pertain to wasting paint. After I finish these pads, since I put too much silver in my little water cap, I'll go ahead and block in some silver on some of those other guys. I think that's about all the metal on him. He does have kind of a strap on his helmet here, but I think I'm gonna kind of dry brush that bone or whatever. So even if I paint that metal right now, crotch piece. Oh, my bad. He's got more metal on him. Thought I was done with the mount. This is all metal for sure. And by for sure, I mean I have no idea. But it is metal now. But yeah, if I have extra metal left in the cap here, I'll go ahead and just block in the metal on maybe a weapon or something on the other giants. That's another kind of a efficiency tip too, is if you look at like this giant here, I mean, just because I had extra paint out, I already more or less finished his base. I already got a good wash down on his skin. So I'm not even technically working on that guy yet. And I've already, got some colors down on him. So when I do get to working on him, it's that much quicker to finish him up. Not a bad idea. Hopefully you try that out sometime. Basically trying to more or less get these done one at a time, but not being afraid to bounce around a little bit just for the sake of not wasting paint. I don't really necessarily get this armor. Maybe I should have pulled up a picture of somebody else that painted this model. That's another way if you want to speed up your painting. Pull up a photo on like Google and look at how somebody else painted it, because they already then basically did all the problem solving of like, say, determining what is and is not metal. And if you like the way they did it, then you don't have to think about it as much. You can just follow what they did. So if, say, this part here, if they painted it, cloth, then maybe you would want to paint it cloth as well. I'm going to go with metal. I think it's going to look good metal there, but... And honestly, I think it is metal, but who knows? All right, cool. So, all right, we got some metals blocked in on this guy, and then, like I said, while I have the paint out, I think I'm going to go ahead and knock in this guy's hammer. I think I want the 3 kind of fire giants, although they're still going to be based in like a frost giant environment. I think I might want to distinguish them a little different with maybe a different metal, like for their armor. But I'm not sure on that, because they are still going to be an army. And generally on the table, if your army looks cohesive, it just looks very appealing. It's nice for the viewer. So maybe we won't. Maybe what I'll do is just how they're kind of more blue. Maybe these guys will be maroon. Like this kind of stuff. The kind of leather padding or whatever it is. Leather scale mill, maybe. Now this looks like chainmail to me. Although that's probably cloth under there, but that's okay. See, he's got like metal boots. Oh, I guess that could be another way they've distinguished, really, is they're just wearing a lot more metal. So I could, maybe they'll, obviously the sculpts are different, but maybe they'll look different enough just by the fact that they have more metal on the model. I think we'll go with that. This is just kind of me thinking out loud here. The process of painting models is, kind of a back and forth in your head. If I was going to overthink how I wanted to do it, I would risk never doing it, which I do many, many times. You have models that you almost get frozen. Let's say, I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called analysis paralysis. And that's where you get stuck just overthinking every possible say, outcome or solution to a problem, instead of just maybe trial and error or getting something done and adjusting it, you get nothing done because you're caught inside your own head. So this way feels much more fun because at least at the end of the day, I'm still painting models, having a good time. Yeah, I think that's what we'll do to distinguish these guys is they'll just, naturally they have more metal in their sculpt, so we'll make sure that that is treated maybe a little better than the frost giants, or with a little more interest, maybe a little bit of color in the wash to add some color into the shadows or something like that. And then hopefully at some point somebody will jump in the chat and we can hang out and get some models painted. If not, I could always just turn off the stream and put on some YouTube videos of my own to listen to while I'm doing this, but I generally find I get a little bit more done when I have the stream on, because it's kind of like, you want to keep moving. You don't want to leave a bunch of downtime. That way, if anybody is watching in the future or currently, maybe they're not going to get too bored. Oh, wiping off. And there we go. It looks like my silver paint is just about out of my cap. So once again, we'll just put him back to the side. But you can see here, I had the option to waste all that silver paint and just let it dry in the cap and move on and keep working on my current giant, or go ahead and just block in some silvers on this guy simply because I had leftover paint. Maybe I'll make a video that's a little shorter and a little more viewer friendly on that subject, just for a little tip for people. People might like that. So cool. Yep, and there's still more. Actually, I think his eye patch is metal too. We probably have just enough paint to base coat the eye patch. And because I'm fast and loose right now, I definitely got silver paint all over his face, but that's okay. So yeah, obviously he's got these big metal boots and stuff, so we'll get to those next time. And I think that should be enough time that our giant is dry, or dry enough. And I think we're going to go Space Wolves Gray. I don't remember if I like this one. Let's go Space Wolves Gray on this. Oh yeah, this one's alright. Like I said, he doesn't quite have the zenithal prime done correctly, so these colors don't really pop or show up great on him, but that's okay if he's subtle. I'll take him being subtle and finished if that's what I need to do, over starting over or re-priming or anything like that. That's not the answer. And I think we'll just carry this up over here as well. Fun thing about painting frost giants, or I assume maybe even painting space wolves in general, is you get to try and kind of balance out your blues and grays and whites. And it's kind of a fun, say, back and forth. Am I adding too much blue and gray, or is there room for another blue to mix in? And I'm going to say there is, but that's of course for you, the painter, to decide. And once again, I'm not really worried about any kind of overspill or anything, because is that? I think we're going to keep that as that. I'm not worried about any like overspill, because I honestly think I can fix it all or clean it up per se, so you don't really notice it in the highlight stage. So if I get a little silver here or a little beard color on the cloth, once I highlight on top of it, I can use my highlighting as a way to also fix mistakes and overspill. Cool, I think that looks pretty good. Just as far as some kind of base tone, I guess. Let's try Drakenhof Nightshade. Go with a darker blue right now on his like undersuit. Although, you know, he might be a little too blue. I don't know. Maybe his undersuit should be a different color. He's got, well, I got this undersuit here, which I'm going to do on here and here. I got this sash. And then I got another layer of, I guess those could be leather. Okay. I don't know yet. Maybe the sash is this darker blue? Let's get a sip of our drink and figure out. This is a good time when I look around at various washes and paints that I have, and then I just kind of go with one of them, because it's a good way to use them up if you're not using them for a lot of stuff. So it's a good way to just get rid of them, I guess you could say. But I'm not throwing them out, right? I'm using them. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to try out a paint I almost never use, which is Secret Weapon Red Black. I don't love this color, but let's see if we can find a place for it. Let's try it on the sash, I guess. Yeah, that's might be a little, well, the sash doesn't have enough white on it probably, so it might be a little too subtle. But that's okay. I guess his purple sash can be subtle. I'm going to just fully base coat it in here, but I honestly don't know if I love it. But that way, if I decide to put another wash on top, at least I'll be uniform, because the whole sash was first base coated with this wash. I mean, I don't hate it. I just don't think it's really adding much. And it looks like I put way too much in here. I thought, honestly, I was going to maybe go for it on the bigger area there. But I chickened out. Now, do I have another model nearby? Maybe. All right, so I don't know if this is worth it, but I got this guy here, and since I got a bunch of that extra red black wash, I'm gonna go ahead and block in his cape with a coat of this. Then if I come back in with maybe a better, maybe when I come in with like say a red contrast paint or something, maybe it'll add something to the effect. I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea on that. I mean, well, of course it'll add something to the effect, but if that something is desirable, that's a different story. So I'm just gonna go ahead and, I know I want these giants to have this kind of maroon, these fire giants anyway, kind of have some maroon going on in them, or brick red color. So this soft, it's called red black, but it's almost purplish, which makes sense. A lot of times black paints have blue in them, but since miniature paint manufacturers don't mark the pigments they use like professional paints, who knows what colors they used in this. So I don't know. I think I could probably honestly throw away red black and never miss it. I don't know what it's doing for me. Don't love it. But whatever. We're going to just get this somewhat of a base coat knocked out, I guess. Alright. So, not really worth anything there, but we tried. Alright, red, black, you're out. I don't think we need you anymore. Well, let's get our giant back. If anybody's watching in the chat, let me know what colors you're thinking on this area here. Under the armor. I think this could be like a dark brown leather there. That's not a bad idea. Could mix a color. You want to mix a color? I could go much more blue. You know, there are some much brighter blues in the contrast range. They're an option. Green, and no, we're not doing green. Let's see, what do we got? I know you can't see what I'm looking at, but believe me, I'm looking at stuff here. Alright, let's just see what happens. I'm picking another color I don't really use that often, but it's fine to use up some of this and get rid of it. I'm going with Secret Weapon Algae. The reason I have these Secret Weapon colors is the game store put them all on clearance because they weren't really selling and they got rid of them or something like that. Or maybe they couldn't keep them stocked. But for whatever reason, they all went on clearance. And because, like every miniature painter probably, I'm a sucker for discount paint. So I bought a bunch of them. But I don't really honestly love them. And I don't think I've ever bought one again at like full price or nothing. Although, they do have one color called Drying Blood, which is actually, I used to like quite a bit for like wounds when I was painting Nurgle models and like for bruising. So that one's pretty nice. And they have another one called Baby Poop, which is hilarious. And it's a decent, like really gross yellow-brown wash. It's hard to find any value, like, not value. It's hard to find anything you really want to use it on, but it's a pretty unique wash, so when you do use it, it's pretty cool. So those are the ones, Drying Blood and Baby Poop are the ones I'm going to recommend if you're picking up some secret weapon washes. Oh, and my bad. Actually, they have a wash I really, really love. I'll show you it here in a second. See, you all thought I would get bored streaming all by myself alone. But I'm just assuming that 100 people are going to watch this in the future. So I'm going to give it my best shot and do a good job, hopefully. So, that came out pretty good. I think that's a good kind of blue-green. Yeah, all right. Algae's a win. It's a good color. Okay, sorry, secret weapon. You're right. Algae's cool. I don't think I have another model nearby that I need to do any blue-green on, or I would use that. Trying to look here. No. All right, I think we're wasting. So, not a ton of waste, but wasteful nonetheless. Let me show you. Oh, my bad. I was actually thinking of a P3 paint, but I do like these two here. Sunshine and Orange. Secret Weapon. Sunshine and Orange. Just like a pure yellow wash. A pure bright orange wash. It's not like a Fugan orange or whatever that has like a kind of dirty color to it. It's just pure orange, transparent ink. So you can find some cool things with that on like power weapons. Or lenses. Definitely some cool stuff. And we will move on to, I think we want to go with like some dark brown up there. I'm going to go with Wildwood. Contrast Wildwood. This brown's really dark. Oh, that's interesting. Does that... Yeah, I think that goes over top of this. Okay. I think we might give him a bit of a brownish beard as well. Kind of blocked it in with some brown wash. Thinking that's the way I would go. I think that's going to work out. Then remember later, if we want to reinforce shadows, we can always do that with washes and stuff as well. This is about blocking in colors, getting him more or less ready to go. And then likely tomorrow at my buddy's house, I'll probably do some finer details on him, which won't be on stream, but on Wednesdays we go over to a friend's house and do some painting as a way to stay sane, since there's really minimal opportunity to game, and I believe video games are poison, so you won't find me on Cyberpunk whatever 72 77 wasting my life away. I'm going to be right here wasting my life away talking to nobody on my stream painting models. So, there you have it. Now, if I do crack and play a video game in the future, it'll be Dota 2, because that's the only game I ever played in the last probably 10 years, and it's my favorite video game, but I don't even have it on my computer, because if I have it, I play it too much, i.e. wasting my life away. So I try to be more productive. I'm trying to build my future here, either, on YouTube or through my Kickstarters or whatever, my eBay store. So I'm not sure I have any desire to spend all my time on a video game. So think of it what you will. I'm going to go ahead and get this guy's shoes with this brown as well. We can distinguish later that these are, say, different browns if we want through highlight or dry brush. But it's a good dark brown to establish. Generally what happens as well is when I dry brush the base, I'm going to get it all over his feet anyway. And then I'll have to fix it with a highlight. Like I said on the earlier parts of the model, I used kind of the highlight step to fix the overspill of this kind of contrast wash step. Basically I'm glazing. This is kind of how like potentially a watercolor painter would paint. A lot of transparent layers. Building up. See there, I just found an area that I'm pretty sure is like a strap. And even though I originally washed it with the kind of flesh tone wash, now I just went ahead and washed it with this dark brown wash right over top. And it's fine, right? It's going to look just fine. So this trim, I don't know how we'll handle that exactly just yet. But there we go. I think he's looking pretty good. That was Wildwood. I have hopefully what I think is going to be a really cool Blood Bowl team paint scheme. So I got them primed up and washed. I'm going to do some dry brushing and highlighting and pick out this bad boy. And somehow I actually missed a spot on this little ogre, so I just touched that up real quick. Luckily this pot up here still has a bunch of this brown wash in there. Sometimes I keep them in like little containers like this if I make too much of a wash, but it's not very often I go back and open those containers and use them on anything. So even though it's like I'm trying not to waste it, if I never go back and use it, then it's not much different than just wasting it, right? All right, I think we'll go Iraqi sand. Maybe? Sure. I may get out. I don't know if I'm going to get out the wet palette. Oh, hold on. I missed a little spot. Sometimes I don't know if I miss a spot or it's possible on these like rubber Wizkids and Reaper Bone miniatures that the paint will just like pull away from an area. I've had that happen quite a few times. I might use some of that brown ink that I got up there just as my liquid to thin down my Iraqi sand color. Hopefully increase the flow a little bit. I don't know what this area is supposed to be. I don't know if that area under there is skin or cloth, because there's clearly like cloth coming up on his hand here. But does that cover in there too? I don't know. Looks like it should be skin. We're just going to keep slapping on the paint and figure it out later, I guess. That might be an instance where before I go back and clean up this area and highlight it and stuff, maybe I'll actually look how maybe the box art or, you know, Reaper Bones maybe, or Wizkids maybe how they painted it. Sometimes with models, I just feel like you just don't know what you're looking at. And this area, I feel that way for sure, because it's like these really thick straps, but they're look like they should be attached to some clothing or something, but they're not. I don't know. So we're just kind of blocking them in. A little rough. Then we'll probably hit them with a little Agrax Earthshade eventually. And the magic of Agrax Earthshade will just solve all our problems. And turn it into leather and cloth and whatever else it needs to be. So that's kind of a mess, but oh well. Good enough. I don't need to worry about getting any on the skin because the skin is literally just some wash, that brown wash right up here over the zenithal prime. So it doesn't look anything near like a skin tone really, or anything finished in my mind. So that'll get some highlighting and stuff, and then once again I'll use that time to clean up where the brush is maybe a little loose or a little too sloppy. At some point I expect to be joined by Inquisitor Zane. He's my guy who always hangs out in the chat, but I don't see him tonight. So we're all alone. Cool, so this looks decent enough. It's more about just seeing if I like the color combination. The different blues and the metal and the browns. And now this tan color. This might be the color we do the trim on his outfit, maybe. Maybe not. What do we got? I think that's pretty good. You know, he might actually even be wearing pants. You think he's like, if he's not wearing pants, I think he's wearing pants. It's kind of, if he's not, then they kind of sculpted his skin weird on his legs. Cool. Ooh, looks like, all right, now we're gonna take black primer because I noticed his base actually could use some black primer. And I need a brush that is destroyed. So look at this brush. This is destroyed. Really an awful destroyed paintbrush, but you could use it as like a little dry brush, or in this instance I'm going to use it to smash. You see right there the little white, those are little nooks and crannies in the textured base that I did that the airbrush or the black primer didn't reach. So this is really, really rough on a paintbrush. Smashing your brush into these little like crevices under these rocks. You'll basically destroy a paintbrush doing this, so do it with an already destroyed paintbrush. And then you don't care. And I'm putting it on really thick. I'm not worried about it being thin or pooling. What I just want it to do is not show any of the white texture paint before I dry brush in the kind of stone colors I've been doing on some of the other videos. And this one for sure, if there's any black primer left in my little cup here, I'm sure I can find something to hit with some extra black primer nearby. So I don't think I'm worried about wasting any. All right, I think that's there's like one little spot. Yeah, I think I got it. Hate to like, you don't want to finish the model and pick it up and then be like, hey, you missed this complete area, and I can see pure white texture paint showing. You know, that would really ruin the effect of. So we'll jump back over to this guy. See if we can't get or say make sure no cork or texture paint is showing. Good chance when we dry brush the other base, I'll probably just dry brush this one as well, since it's pretty much ready to go. Once I make sure I get all the areas primed solid black. And it looks like we're doing it. Said don't be shy about gobbing the paint onto the base when you're talking about, you know, priming something with this much texture. It's more important that you really fill in all those little nooks and crannies. If you're watching still, make sure you hit the like button. If you're watching in the future, make sure you smash the like button. Still trying to figure out what everybody loves to hear before they hit that like button. I should have been putting all that extra paint on this guy. It's pretty thin here. So he's probably still going to need more primer. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to have enough actually to finish his base now. The other guy had a few little spots, but this guy's got a little bit more that needs to be. You know, I think I'm just going to go ahead and finish his as well. Since I am already got this beat up brush out, make sure we're really blocking in, covering our cork and our texture paint. Basically, he was, you know, it's primed black, and then the zenithal prime oversprays onto the rocks. And then, you know, if I didn't catch priming the black with the airbrush, that I didn't get all the little areas under the rocks and stuff. It's just good to go back in with a brush and make sure I get them. So recently I picked up some Marvel Crisis Protocol. So I think we'll have a video painting up some of that soon. And then hopefully, I mean, one cool thing, that game is coming out with new characters all the time. It's one of those games I think that, I mean, it just looks better and better with each new character release. It looked really boring in the beginning when there was only like 8 characters, because it was basically going to be the same exact 4-on-4 team. You know, 4 good guys versus 4 bad guys or whatever. So now that there's like 50 characters, it gets, you know, more and more appealing as far as playing. And then honestly, by the time this whole COVID thing is over, who knows how many characters will be out. There could be a whole bunch. I mean, there's already quite a bit. All right, now let's jump over, check on the chat if anybody's here. Got 1 viewer. Awesome. Welcome to the stream. Let's just go straight up Screaming Skull. I think this paint is... Oh yeah, I'm not sure if I can even dry brush with this. This is just a gobbed up mess here. I'm going to go with just the size 1 Ghost dry brush, available now on eBay. And we'll see if we can even get paint out of here. Yeah? Alright, I guess there's a little paint hidden in there. I'm going to wipe it over here on this cardboard. Maybe test it on my knuckle. It's a little bit, maybe too much on there, a little too wet. It's probably because of this mess of like separated water and stuff, but I think we'll make it work. So I'm gonna go ahead and highlight these bones with, I mean, the plan would be with a dry brush, but the effect I'm getting right now is almost like a wet, kind of a wet brush really, because the paint didn't really dry all that much when I was wiping it off. That's okay, I think it looks pretty good. So I think the effect came out okay. So I don't think we quite need to throw away our Screaming Skull bottle of paint just yet. Because even though it's barely a paint anymore, it worked. What do you think this is? Skin? Probably, huh? Cool, that actually worked pretty good. And since I got it out, let's see if we can't fix this guy's horns up a little bit. I'm going to try to get a little bit more of this paint off. Basically, I've been doing this kind of light to dark attempt here that's not working. But now I'm going to try to blend it all together with kind of a dry brush, stipple, wet brush, whatever you call it, with this, whatever this really bad Screaming Skull paint is doing. And it's going to kind of unify it all by putting the same, basically, color over all the areas. And because it's more or less transparent and thin, you should still be able to see the darker areas. But hopefully they're blended in a little better. They're not. Oh, they're not. I was trying a different way to do the horns than basically instead of just doing it correctly and maybe having the wet palette out and kind of wet blending, and I was just kind of glazing different washes and different browns on while I had them out. And this is what I got, which I don't love. Maybe you can put a little bit on his beard. Look at that. Maybe picked up a little. So, cool. Yeah, it's funny. That actually came out pretty cool on the helmet with that just terrible, terrible Screaming Skull separated paint that basically glazed over it almost. But it actually worked really well in the helmet. So, it's a happy accident there. I guess we'll hold on to this little guy a little longer. And I think we'll go with silver gray. You can see it's brighter than the previous color. This is going to be just a highlight. I think this one we'll try to be a little more careful that we get it off there. Get the majority off. So we don't want this to get too bright, but yeah, all right, that worked well. Cool. Could pretend like I do that all the time. Oh, we're losing a hair. Could pretend that I do that all the time with this combination, but I do not. Just painting, having a good time. So, worked good. Happy with that. Dare we try it on the other guy's horns? Sure, why not? They can't get any worse. The only thing when you're dry brushing something like these horns right now is I don't really want to get it on his cape or areas I already, quote unquote, finished. Alright, I mean, it's not, I don't know. They're not the worst horns I've ever seen, but they're not my best ones ever. But that's one of those things, right? When you're doing, I mean, this is just my somewhat silly Reaper Bones, Wizkids, Mantic, Sons of Bahamut army. So, they probably don't have to be the absolute best models I ever painted. And a perfect opportunity to, say, go back in and add some cool details. If, say, one day I get to play them in like an event or something. I don't know if I could play an Age of Sigmar tournament though. The game's so just messed up. There's so many crazy things in that game. I'm not sure I'd have any fun playing in a tournament. But could probably have some fun playing with some friends. So, let's go ahead and hit this Minotaur's armor with a wash while we got it. I'm going to go Nuln Oil gloss on it. Can't go wrong with that Nuln Oil gloss. Just going to hit the metals on this guy. And I'm just going to switch over to this really wonderful beat up GW shade brush. Cool. If you're not familiar with the gloss wash line, they really are nice for getting basically your shadows darker without completely staining the surface like the normal Nuln Oil would. So they work really well with, basically, if you're putting on a wash to get just the shadows, the recesses, you probably should just honestly be buying the gloss version, and then use the regular versions when you really are purposely darkening the whole area. Now, that being said, oh, I got some hair on it. That being said, if you're going to use like a gloss wash, though, make sure you plan on varnishing your miniature some way, because it just looks weird when there's all kinds of different finishes of contrast paints, kind of satin finish and gloss wash and matte paints and satin paints, and I'm not using the same brand of paint, so there's all kinds of different finishes. But I'm going to be matte varnishing these models. So I've been pretty happy with I love the AK Ultra Matte. For now, I think I like the way it looks. Some people don't like it because it's too matte for them, but I honestly think when it's that matte, it gives it such a unique look that people can't quite understand how you did it. And it's really just as simple as using AK Interactive Ultra Matte. And that kind of unique matte finish that's so matte that most people don't do makes your models stand out. Because they maybe feel like, oh, there's never look like that. Well, the truth is mine don't look like that either until the matte varnish is applied. So it's almost like a happy surprise when I put the varnish on, because then I finally get to see what the finished model is going to look like. Highly, highly recommend AK Interactive Ultra Matte Varnish. If you don't have an airbrush, I believe you can paint it on by brush, but what I would do is just do what I started with, and that's look at cake decorating airbrushes. Basically just search airbrush with mini compressor or airbrush, cake airbrush, or beauty makeup airbrush. They work perfect. They don't have a lot of power. Obviously, they're a mini compressor. But if you just need your airbrush to apply some varnish or maybe some primers, it's not a bad way to start. You can get a lot of cool things happening with a really low budget. So don't be afraid to try one of those out there, like $30. Cool, so we just put in some wash on the Minotaur here. He'll be up on eBay when he's done. He's just a little... Sometimes I keep little projects around that are going to end up on eBay. And you just kind of pick at them a little bit here and there. Like, as you are working on your stuff, got a little extra color, you got a color out, you know, go ahead and throw it on your little eBay model. I'm going to gloss wash his metals now. I think they're probably dry. And I mean, honestly, I think there's going to be a pretty decent look to these metals with just a base coat and then a wash of Nuln gloss. And then we'll hit it with a dry brush of like a bright silver. And then maybe pick out some details in like a brass or a copper or something. Another really, really good one, if you don't have Nuln Oil gloss, is this Citadel Air Death Shroud Clear. This actually works a lot like an oil wash without having to do oil paints. So you can't remove it. It's not forgiving like an oil wash, but while you're manipulating it with your brush and spreading it around the model, it definitely finds its way into the recesses and stuff, like a pin wash or an oil wash. It's pretty cool. I'd like it a lot. And I think it's going to be a paint I keep around forever, as long as they keep making it. I think I made a video on it before, but there's some GW paints I really, really love and go to all the time. Maybe I haven't made a video on it in a while, so maybe I should do it again, but the ones, I'll tell you right now if you're listening, top secret, Bugman's Flesh, or Bugman's Glow, it's like a dwarf flesh color. Love it. Love it, love it, love it for base coating flesh. You know, we're going to hit these straps. I was going to say we're going to hit these straps with the Nuln gloss, but I'm not sure I like that look. Too late. We're going to do it anyway. I think it'd look better with a brown, but oh well. I'm just creating some shadows here. Celestra Gray. Just an amazing off-white gray color for when you're painting white, especially if you're painting like the whites of an eye. Never ever use white paint. It looks, unless you're doing a single white dot as like a reflection, makes your models look like little cartoons. If you use white, if you use Celestra Gray, it'll read as, when you look at it, the model will look like he has, you know, the white of his eyes showing, but won't be so bright that he looks like a googly eye weirdo. That could be a video. I finally finished the shipping on the Kickstarter, more or less. I got about 70 people who have not given me their address yet, so they'll get theirs when they give me their address. But for the most part, it's a much more relaxed environment in my life now because I'm not constantly having to tape boxes and load boxes and print labels for 14 hours a day. However long I was doing it. Felt like even longer than 14 many days. It was a lot of work. But we put out a good product and got a successful campaign, happy customers, everything you'd ever want, really, if you're trying to do something like that. So no complaints there. I just know next time, if I have that many backers again, I'm going to start hiring help earlier. I mean, I paid some friends to help me the last couple months, and what a mistake I didn't do that right away, because it really sped things up having some extra people around. Cool. All right, he's looking pretty good, I think. Obviously, once you put all the highlights in, everything pops. Probably even hit the kind of that, I don't know if it's scale mail or chain mail or leather or whatever the heck it's supposed to be, but I painted it with that algae wash we did earlier. Probably hit that with maybe like a green, blue, teal, whatever dry brush, and just play into that kind of color spectrum a little bit. I think that'll look nice. This kind of purple sash, we might have to just full on give that a base coat with some new color. It's not, doesn't necessarily look bad, it's just not showing up enough to look finished, I don't think. Actually, what I'll do is I think I'll hit it with a contrast paint, and then just, pretty sure I even mentioned that earlier and I forgot. I'll hit it with a contrast paint, like a red one, and we'll just see how it turns out. Cool, all the metals are washed. And, well, maybe not all of them. Get these little rings. Still think that's possibly metal. Yeah, I think it is. And we'll get to that at the very end, probably. Cool. All right, so he's there. One thing I guess I forgot to mention on the bases, when I go and dry brush and try to make them look like rocks or whatever, any parts I miss or have little white spots showing or whatever, of course I could cover that up with like a tuff or like a grass tuff or a little bit of snow effect. So I'm not too worried about it. I think they look pretty good. And I think that's... Let's pull out... Let's move him to the side. I'm going to pull out my handy dandy Thamar Black. This is like my go-to rim, base rim paint color. It's kind of hard to find P3 in my area now, so I'll probably be switching to Pro Acryl, Coal Black or whatever it's called maybe, or I got AK Pure Black, but this got quite a ways before it runs out. But this has basically been my black for like the rims of bases for years now. Gone through a couple bottles of it. It's really one thing that's just nice about it is it's thin enough, as long as your paintbrush is a little damp or you could thin it with a little water, you can basically get a nice good coat in one pass. I have a buddy at the game store who was talking about using the black contrast paint. He's like, oh, it's so awesome for the rims of bases because you can just do 2 coats and get it perfectly black. And it's like, to me that sounds like a waste of time when I can just do 1. So then I usually put them on the paper or whatever and give them a twist just in case any paint, so you can, some of the paint like curved over there. But and I think, yeah, let me go ahead. I never actually painted this guy, the monkey here. I didn't get his base rim yet. My order from Green Stuff World, Frost Effect Paint, just got to my buddy's house. We did a little group order. So I got the new Frost Effect paint to play with on these guys' bases. I've been waiting. That's why I haven't finished them yet. But watching a review, it looks like varnish just totally destroys and melts your crystals from that effect paint. So I think we're going to have to go ahead and just finish up all the snow effects. Well, I don't know. This is where I'm having trouble. I don't know if I want to... hold on, let me put him aside and get this guy. I don't know if I want to put the tufts on and then varnish the models, and then after that's dry, go back and apply the frost paint and the snow. Or if I want to varnish the models, then go back and apply the tufts, frost, and snow. It's basically those tufts I'm a little worried about. I just don't know if I need to matte varnish them to make them look like they're in world or not. In combination with the snow. I think it might actually be a pretty cool effect that the snow is not matte varnished. So maybe it'll look wet because it should, well, it's for sure going to be less matte than AK Ultra Matte because that's the mattest paint ever. Maybe not ever, but it's close probably. Alright, I think that covers them for now. If you got this far, make sure you check out all the new Ghost Brush listings. I'm actually going to see if I can update the current Ghost Brush listing to just include all the new photos and new dry brushes in the listing, because I think there's like 90 people watching the post on eBay and 0 watching the new ones, of course, because they're new. So it'd be much better to alert those 90 people that the dry brushes are available right there on eBay if I can just update the post. Alright, I think... What was I going to do? Oh, that sash. We want... I don't know, do we want Blood Angels red or Voluptuous pink? I know I got the Flesh Terror one somewhere as well, but I don't see it right now. Guess we're going Blood Angel? Alright. Blood Angel red. Looks like it's separated, so let me give this a good shake. And we'll see if we can't get a little more interest in this guy's cloak. Or not cloak, but sash. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That looks pretty cool. So there you have it. That's the trick. If you want a pretty cool red and you happen to have secret weapon red black, go ahead and put that wash down over your zenithal and then hit it with the Blood Angels red contrast paint. And you get a pretty nice deep red. Actually, it looks very nice. At this stage, I could be a little more precise, but I'm still not honestly worried about overspill or whatever from my crappy old Citadel brush here. I generally find when I'm cleaning up overspills in highlight stages it gives me an opportunity to try to make areas, kind of more interesting or unique or whatever, I guess. I don't know. It'll look good. That's all I know. Can't really show you, but it's kind of hard to see how these come together on kind of a belt buckle or something. But if I can just base coat this red in there, and then maybe I can reach in and pick out the little belt buckle, and hopefully it looks correct. Cool. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Yeah, he's got kind of a Captain America vibe now, red, white, and blue. All right. Since we got it out, what the heck? Let's go ahead and just do this guy's cloak too. On these big surfaces, sometimes the contrast paint looks a little streaky. That's okay, because we will fix it in the highlight stage with some dry brushing, or however we choose, stippling, or whatever highlight method we want to use. So right off the bat, I'm going to say I don't honestly think I love this deep red for the inside of his cloak, but he is a fire giant, so maybe we'll fall in love with it later. Or maybe I'll hit it with like a Agrax Earth Shade or some kind of dark wash to really make a dark kind of red brown. Oh, look at that that was a big swipe of totally missed. It's fine. Everything's fine. We're doing fine. Hopefully, if anybody is watching this in the future, you're getting some models painted, and in between painting models, you're smashing the subscribe button, and of course, the like button. Pretend this is Twitch, and leave a comment or something below about how much fun you're having. These streams are actually pretty fun ways to paint because you get a chit chat with people and it makes it, more entertaining. Now, tonight is more of just the ramblings of a madman, since nobody wanted to join in the chat tonight. But if you have a channel, consider doing some live painting streams. And honestly, I definitely got some painting done that otherwise I might not have done. Because even though nobody's currently chatting with me, I have to still think of the future viewer. So I can't just sit here and do nothing. I have to keep moving, so hopefully they're clicking around and they find this spot in the video, it's somewhat interesting to watch. So that's the Blood Angels Red contrast paint on the inside of the little Fire King's cape. Cool. Let's see what this guy's up to. I don't know. Are we feeling it right now? Do we do this red? I don't know. We'll wait. No, we'll do it red. This is about just getting paint on the models, getting it done. He's the fire giant. I can kind of visualize this. I think it's going to look pretty nice once I take these reds and darken them down with some possibly Agrax Earthshade or some kind of other maybe brown wash colors, and just create these kind of deep reds. I think the effect will actually look really good for a fire giant. The other option, which I will actually do anyway, but do it on this kind of more leather stuff on them, is, you know, this kind of brick. Go the sort of brick red route, which I'm going to do as well. But I was thinking of maybe doing it on, say, that cape I just did, or this fur right here. But I'll just find a different place for it. It's fine. The strategy here is that pot of paint is open, so why not find a few things to paint with it? The contrast reds, both of them, are pretty nice. I've done a few models now and been very happy with contrast red, maybe a wash of some kind, and then building up some highlights with some reds and red-orange colors, or red and kind of cream colors. Super quick, fun, easy, looks good. So there we go, we got the red cape on him, and we do have a third one of these guys, so somewhere on him we'll find the red, and I do believe I found it basically on the inside of his cloak thing. That way all three models in this squad will have some unifying colors. This guy, I mean, this is the first color I put on him, so I can be really, really loose, sloppy, whatever you call it. But yeah, this way now they'll be somewhat unified when they're all in their unit together. They'll look like they know each other, basically. All I'm doing is trying to make it look like they've met before. Hopefully they're standing in roughly the same place on their planet or universe. And that maybe they've been to the same stores or know the same armor maker, that sort of thing. That's all it is. Just make them look like they know each other. Now, of course, with giants, you could be, you know, each one could be probably unique, and as long as you base them the same, this would be an army, you could do that, and they'd still look cool. But I'm going for the unified look. Do we have anything else on this guy that can be red? No, I think that's about it. All right. We'll just leave it at that. Let's close our contrast paint before we knock it over. I don't want to knock over my paint and make this video too interesting. We definitely need to do the trim on this guy's stuff and the skin. I think I'll work on that though tomorrow with the wet palette at my buddy's house. Somehow I'm still not getting all the little, I can just see the white. That's too much. I can still see some white showing through on parts of this guy's base. I'm going to really blob some primer into these areas and just try to make sure it fills in. Doesn't even seem possible that I missed that many times, but I guess I did. Okay, cool. Well, we got the primer out. I'm just going to prime this guy's base with it. Literally just kind of scrubbing it on. I never know what to do with these, you know, board game models. Like, do you just leave their base black? I mean, obviously it's going to look, models look better when they're based. It's kind of a pain to base models that are already glued onto the base, especially when they have details that are low to the base, like how much his arms and stuff are. I mean, you have to stab all your basing material in between his legs and stuff. I don't know. Always kind of a pain. Maybe we'll just hit it with like some crackle paint or something. Like I said, he will be a model for sale on eBay, so I think I will have to base him because people will buy him to be like a encounter in their D&D campaign. And I think a pure black base isn't as desirable as like a dungeon floor or maybe the woods. All right, I don't know, probably don't need to be touching that red right now. Not 100% sure on the trim. Probably just do like a pure blue. I don't know if I'll go full on ice blue though, but something like that. Or I could match the trim with like his straps. It's not a terrible idea. Or just go dark. Also not a terrible idea. Let's, I'm just going to go with this golden brown. This is definitely just a color I don't plan on ever buying again. I just got it in a pack on like a clearance pack or whatever. Not saying it's a bad color, I just don't use these game, or not even game air, model air line. Model air. I don't use them a lot, and like my pack is all like different browns and grays, which I have a lot of. But let's see if we can't use the pre-thinned airbrush paint to our advantage, since it has some transparency to it because they're thin. We're just going to paint it right onto his beard here. In any areas that look a little too opaque, we'll basically just keep moving the paint. Basically, we're trying to create brush strokes, not a smooth blend, because we want to just see that underpainting wash. I'm going to be a little careful. Hopefully I didn't get it around the horns there, or the bone anyway. Because I think that came out relatively good. And we don't want to do it again. So, of course, if I did get a little on the horns, I could fix it by just making that part of the horn highlighted. There we go. You know, he's got kind of a more interesting, brighter beard. Still haven't done the skin on him though, but oh well. And I got some of that paint out here still. So let's just see if we like it on this guy. I don't think I do. I think I kind of want to go with a black beard on him. Yeah, I mean, I want to go with I'm going to go with a black beard on him. I'll go ahead and just finish the base coat or whatever of this color. That way if I just do maybe like a couple dark washes or something, it'll at least be somewhat unified. But I don't think that's the color I want for him. And he's got his... I'll do the same for his hair on his head, I guess. Yeah, I don't love that. I think the fire giants are supposed to be like, I don't know. So I picture them like darker, maybe darker skin tones, dark beard, dark hair. Like maybe they're working in a blacksmith shop or something. Yeah, he came out pretty good. I mean, he's good as is. Once I dry brush, boom, boom, boom. A few things and highlight the skin up. He's looking pretty good, I think. Oh, I don't know. We might call it right there. That might be the end of the stream. Let me look around real quick and see if there's another part on the model that maybe I want to attack right now. I think I'll just... So I think the next step is kind of all the dry brushing. Maybe I'll make that into a video. I'm not sure. But right now he's blocked in. Everything looks pretty good. Nothing's been slaved over or nothing, you know. So now I can hit in some dry brushing and then any kind of overspray sort of thing, you know, overbrush that gets onto the various details, I can go ahead and just fix with little highlights basically. So I think now we do all the dry brushing step, like the furs and stuff, and then we finish up with picking out little details, little highlights to clean it up and call him done. So we're going to have this giant army done soon enough. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Hopefully you want to like and subscribe on the video. Thumbs up. Boom. Thumbs up the video. And hopefully you enjoyed getting some painting done if you painted along at all. If you have any questions about painting or paintbrushes or something like that, let me know in the comments. If there's a video you want to see, let me know in the comments. I don't do much editing, and by that I mean none. So hopefully it's a simple video that I can show you how to do. But thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this one. Please like and subscribe.